Welcome, everybody, to Panfish Nation. And just because James Dockery says I'm a Walmart greeter does not make it so. Here's your host, Mark from Catfish and Crappie.
What's going on, everybody? Did he actually call you a Walmart greeter?
He did.
You know, if he ever disappears off the show circuit, I bet you that's what he's going to be doing. You watch.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen.
Man.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, how is everybody? How you doing? Adam is our guest. We'll give him a proper announcement. Lyle, I'm going to say hello to everybody in chat first, and then we can get the show started from there. What do you think, bud?
That sounds great.
All right, well, you're going to back out here, and then we'll see you at the end. How's that sound, buddy?
Sounds good, man.
All right, let's see who's in chat, Adam. All right. We have two Stan's Fishing. What's going on, Stan? Stan's a big supporter of the show. He's just gotten back into tying some flies and jigs himself. It's good to see Stan out there. Catfish Fever and Outdoors. What's going on, Lynn? Chad Nolte. I feel, is that a fishing name or what, Adam? Chad Nolte. That's almost as good as Adam Felder.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah. Pretty good. There's some good fishing names. It's not like Mark Shibish is a fishing name. I don't think so. Not in this country, at least. What's going on, Chad? Creole Catfishing. We'll talk about Creole later. Eric Massey Jig Company. Hey, Eric, we were just talking about you backstage and the good work you do, buddy. Great to see you here. Ernie Brown, Fins and Finds. What's going on, Bob? Fishing with the Chad. Great show, Chad. It was nice to see you in the break up the 1-ton crew the way you do. Are you really starting the 1-ton ginger club is the other question we'll have to talk about later. Fishing and Cooking with Mike Chavez. Mike Chavez was a guest of mine on my last show. He's a great guy. He's got a great cooking channel, fishes for a lot of blue cats. On the Chick Mahogany, you have to forgive me, on the East Coast, he does really well. Fishing the Mid-South. What's up, my friend? D, go get hooked on D Fishing. What's going on, D? Jason Lamb. Mo Creek Fishing. What's going on, Rob? How are you? Mindy Hogan, thanks for coming over. Justin's Fishing Fetish. What's up, Gabby's dad? Setting Hooks and Crossing Eyes. Hey, Ryan, what's up, buddy? Kelly, also known as The Bullock Experience. And Uncle Lou. Let me go through this list again, see if there's anybody I missed. Creole. Dale Hayslip, welcome. Ernie Brown, welcome. I know if Ernie's here, Chrissy's either not far behind or real close to him. What's up? Fins Fines. All right, Jason Ward. What's going on, Jason? Mud Trap, what's up, Becca? How are you doing? Big supporter of all the shows. It's always great to see her in all of them. I think we're good. All right, Adam, sorry about that. They're starting to come in and more. If I miss somebody, maybe we'll holler out. Everybody, I want to introduce our guest, Adam Felder. What's going on? Adam, how are you doing today?
Doing fantastic, man. Appreciate you having me.
And your YouTube channel is SDG Custom Lure Craft. There you go.
There you go. Well, I got to learn the right.
And there you go. It's the right direction. Actually, it is spelled right to left, so that's pretty good. Yeah. It's good. We got it reversed. So, what does SDG stand for? I've been wanting to ask you that for a while now.
All right. Well, I'm gonna drop some Latin on you.
I'm fluent in Latin.
SDG. No. So, what it stands for is Soli Deo Gloria. Soli Deo Gloria. It's Latin for the glory of God alone. So Amen. When I was, I got a lot of passions I got a few deep passions in my life, right? I'm a family man. I'm a father, a husband now for a long time. So I got some passions that run deep, but from a overarching standpoint, one of my passions is doing everything I do for the glory of God, right? First Corinthians 10:31 says, whatever you do, whether you eat or drink, do it all for the glory of God. Mm-hmm. I love fishing. And I love lure making, and I love creating new things that are a little outside the box. So when I brought, with the support of one passion, my family, my kids, my wife, supporting me in it, I brought the passion of wanting to do everything for the glory of God and combined it with lure craft, and we got SDG.
Very cool.
When I make lures, everything I do, whether it's eat, drink, or I'm tying a jig at the vise, I'm trying to do it for the glory of God. So
that's very cool.
Yep.
You know, my grandfather, when I was a young man, the man who taught me how to fish, used to say that God loves a fisherman, so love God in return.
There you go.
That's what he used to say. Those are he was a merchant marine, so he wasn't the most educated gentleman, but he had a pretty deep faith that he kind of definitely pointed in my direction on many of occasions. So very cool.
I think Jesus appreciated some fishermen, right?
I think he did too.
A fisher of man, right? He
Yeah.
got fishermen to be his.
He started with fishermen, didn't he?
It was natural, right?
Absolutely did. And I can't think of a better place or a better church to talk to the man upstairs than that one. So
there you go.
It's while you're out fishing.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about where you're from and how you got involved in YouTube, and then we can go from there with the lures and stuff.
So I'm in the great state of West Virginia. A lot of mountains, a lot of streams. Unfortunately, not a lot of big water, right? So I'm not around Kentucky lakes and big water like that. But we do have some, sizable lakes around here. I don't know. My dad really wasn't a fisherman, but I liked it when I was young. He's a pastor. So when our first church that I remember here, we bought this plot of land, and it was right beside a lake. So as I was growing up, I was mowing the lawn at the lake, and then I'd take a break, or at the church rather, and then I'd take a break and I'd go over and fish at the lake, and just, you know what they say, right? You get hooked.
Yeah,
right?
pretty much do.
Right. So anyway, a lot of mountain places you can go to, a lot of small reservoirs, things of that nature. We don't really deal with a lot of grass, so even the kind of lures is pretty unique to West Virginia. What I have, and I think you see that in my channel, right? I lean towards certain things. But anyway, yeah, so I'm in West Virginia and have loved fishing. Took a break from it for a while, but as an adult, probably, I don't know, 8 years ago, I stopped golfing because it was way too hard and way too expensive, and I was terrible at it. And I'm pretty good at fishing, so I picked that up. It's funny you say that. My own lures.
I have a saying to all my golfing buddies. I say, those who can't fish golf. Yeah. And that really gets them upset to the point of where they like begging me to take them out, and I kind of make them suffer for a little bit before I do, but that's kind of a running joke. So, and just, I don't think they're here listening. I don't mind playing around at golf every now and then either. So I'm not good at it at all, but I don't mind getting out there.
I'm missing the athletic side. I don't have that natural athletic side, but I'm a strategic thinker. And fishing allows for me to use my mind and learn about fish and learn about lures and what makes them work and how to use certain ones in certain places. So
that's like just as enjoyable as landing the fish. Actually, it's more for me. I like the whole strategy, the whole chess game of finding fish or testing new methods out or trying to figure out what's exactly going on, stuff like that. That's just as enjoyable, if not more, for a lot of people that I know.
For sure. Especially when it works.
Yeah, exactly. And when it doesn't, it's kind of humbling, and you got to pick yourself up and start back at square one. Isn't a bad thing for the self-esteem or the character building either. So I think fishing is a great way to build character, not only in the young, but in us older gentlemen as well. Not that you're as old as me, but I think you understand what I'm saying.
I do. And then when you make your own lure and go and you do all the background, right? You do all the strategy, and you learn where they're going to be, the water temp and water clarity, and what time of the year is it, what time of the day is it even sometimes. And then you bring a lure that you made, and then you catch one on it. I mean, short of having a kid, right?
It's pretty good. We were talking offline before. I think it was yesterday, or was it the day before? My week's going into a blur. You'll have to forgive me, Adam. But I actually retied some jigs to one of the people out there, Matt, Ohio, and who won some jigs for me, which actually showed up. But I tied some additional ones. These were like my first ones. I'm not bragging or nothing. I want to show you how pathetic those are. But I caught that bass, 2.5 pound bass, and I caught a bunch of crappie on them. And you know what? I was pretty happy. I'm not going to lie. I can totally relate now after just one time, and it's addicting. So I got the trip planned out to Cabela's already this weekend. I go pick up some more chenille and maybe get into the hackle, but that's another show. But there are a lot of fly tires out there for panfish and crappie in the chat, so they could relate. And
it crosses over, right?
Everything, that's good that you said that. I've been finding out more and more in the last few years that questioning why I'm catching bass on circle hooks or crappie on bass lures, such like that, to the point of where you kind of say, hey, you know what, fish are fish, and they all eat the same things, and it kind of crosses over here and there. So there's no reason why you can't catch big fish on little lures and little fish on big lures, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I was out with a buddy. I give him a hard time because he likes to throw crick hoppers and just those little, crick hoppers and tiny little spinners on an ultralight for bass or whatever, because he just wants to catch a fish. I'm okay going out, having thought about it, strategized. Okay, it didn't work, but I still succeeded in something, right? He's got to catch a fish. So if we're not catching, he's breaking down the ultralight, catches a 3.5 pounder on something, just a teeny tiny little spinner meant for a trout. So
yeah,
what are you gonna do?
That's not bad. I'll take my, the biggest Panther Martins I got in my box. I don't know what number they are, and I'll go out sunfish fishing with them just to see what I can get. You weed out some of the little ones, but I kind of like to think that I grew out of that I need to catch a fish phase a long time ago. Not that catching fish is bad, but I kind of like to revel in the experience from start to finish. So, and I believe that you're like mine too. So from what I've understand so far,
it crosses over too. Part of my, I hope anyway, part of what makes SDG unique is a lot of what you see on Small Jaw's channel as well. And that I try to take a lot of what the fly fishermen are doing, fly tying techniques, natural materials, how you handle some of those materials, reverse flying, hollow tie, what would it, I'm always thinking, how could I adapt that to a bass jig? What would that look like in a swim jig, in a 1/2 ounce swim jig with a 4/0 hook, right? And that's both challenging and very rewarding when it works, because there's hair jigs out there, but there's not a lot of that kind of stuff.
Right.
But it's pretty cool when it comes together. So a lot of hybrids, right?
Hybrid stuff.
Hybrid. This guy right here, right? This guy is a SDG brown copper flash. I call it a hybrid Z. Right? That's a 1/2 ounce pitching jig. It's a hybrid in 2 ways. So it's got silicone for the color. It's got round rubber, because when round rubber goes in the water, it floats, right? You get this lionfish look as it sits on the ground, just poof, like that. And then it's got rabbit zonkers on the back, hence the Z, right? Hybrid Z zonkers. And the rabbit floats.
Yep.
So it looks like claws up in the air, and this giant lionfish with all this nice silicone and color shift copper. And so that's the kind of stuff I'm thinking through. Like, how can I bring it all together?
As soon as you pull that down, I'm thinking smallmouth with that one.
Oh, yeah.
As soon we got a lot of good smallmouth here on the Fox River. I think something like that would work great. You might even have to sell me one. Maybe not in a 1/2 ounce. Maybe we can get something. That'll work too. Look at that.
Oh, baby. That's got about 10 different materials in it, about 12 different steps.
And that's a good place to start. Well, it's a good point. What doesn't eat crayfish?
Yeah.
Pretty much. Trout eat them, catfish eat them, bluegills eat them, crappie eat them, bass, of course, eat them. The only thing, I imagine pike and such eat them, right? I've never heard anybody catch one around here using them, but they eat anything. They're just animals. So
they're a little slow for a pike, maybe. Pike, muskie, they tend to want to chase something down, I think. But I don't think they'll turn their nose.
I don't know where you're fishing for pike, but the pike out here are awfully lazy in the middle of summer.
Are they really?
Yeah, they'll chase them down. Or in the winter, man, if you got some dead bait, they're happy with that. They don't care.
Well, every fish is lazy at heart.
Our percentage rate goes up here for using, live or dead bait underneath a big float here on the Fox in the middle of summer. Just because of bank fishing opportunities are slim to none. So that's kind of how we adapt.
Yeah, makes sense.
But that's pretty cool how you integrated all three of those things. I never thought about the rubber actually floating like it would, like mono does. It's something I learn something every time we have a new guest on here. So
yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Really
Hopefully,
to see.
Chad too. Very cool. So tell us a little bit about the actual channel. What do you have on there? I know you got the zip tie series. That's really cool. We can talk about that. Tell us a little more.
Yeah, so I do. My primary focus is bass jigs or bass lures of different sorts, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I also do crappie jigs. I've got a whole playlist out there that's the playlist itself is called Shop, so it's tips and tricks in the shop. So I pour my own lead, shaping it, cutting the sprue, shaping it, filing it down, fluid beds to paint the heads, cure it, put the eyes on, seal it. Even in that regard, we put thread sealant right on to finish the thread to make sure that it could be super glue, it can be whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But there's even stuff in the shop of where I did a video one time where I tested 3 different kinds of thread sealants. And what does it do to the materials if you have spillover? So, what does it look like if you want to use super glue on the threads to finish a jig, and you get a little bit of that super glue on silicone, or you get a little bit on rubber, or you get a little bit on natural hair? What does it look like, right? Does it ruin it, or is it okay? Same way with Sally Hansen's. What happens? Same way with Loon, which is, I don't have it here, but Loon water-based head cement is what I use a lot anymore, because in that video you see you get a little bit of super glue over on your materials and it's a disaster, right? It's not as bad with Sally Hansen's, but you use something like a water-based head cement, and even if it gets on something as fine as that rabbit fur I was showing you, it seals the threads, locks them down, but you just kind of rub it between your fingers and it loosens up. So there's even stuff like that. One of my more popular videos that I think your constituents here will appreciate, it was a lot of fun to make. I poured 10, I think they were 1/8 ounce. They were either an 1/8 or a 16th, one of the two. Just bare hooks. I painted every one of them green pumpkin, and then I chose 10 tails, right? And I called the video "The Tale of 10 Tails," right? So all my videos have a slow-mo of the finished product where it twirls around, and it has test tank in every video, right? At least every video that should have test tank in it. And you can see what it looks like in the water, right? So I took those 10 and said, let's compare these 10 tails. It was all for crappie jigs. So what's the movement of bucktail versus Arctic fox versus silicone versus flashaboo, nothing but flashaboo, you know what I mean? Versus, of course, marabou is like the king, right? That was cool. That was a lot of fun. I set it all to music and just had a little test tank and brought it up to say, this is marabou, and everybody got to watch about 15 seconds of marabou, and you could see how it flows. And in the corner on the side, I've got a current. I plug in a little doohickey and it pushes current. So I jig it so you can see what it looks like jigging, and then I wrap it around and I put it right in the current so you can see what it looks like in the current, if you're reeling it in. So I like to do stuff like that because, I actually have a request. Hey, will you do that for bass stuff? Like put bucktail on the end of a 1/2 ounce pitching jig, or show what just this one looks like and just that one looks like. And so you can find stuff like that. So there's a whole variety. Cool.
Yeah, if someone could post a link to Adam's channel on there, you guys should all subscribe to him. He's got a lot of really good stuff that does cross over from bass to panfish and so on. So in tell me a little bit about the waters that you fish out in West Virginia.
Are
you fishing lakes, streams? Because there's a lot of streams in West Virginia, isn't there?
If you want to target smallmouth, yeah. right? We've got some reservoirs, big dams on one end. A lot of natural lakes. We do have one deep water reservoir. It's got a lot of muskie in it, giant, 60-foot deep dam section. To be honest, I feel like the water is so small here compared to Chickamauga and some of the other huge ones, right? It's basically just big ponds, which, hey, that's a lot of fun, right?
They hold fish. I'm not complaining. That's what the waters are like here, so I can definitely relate.
Yeah.
Even the big Fox River, which is the one close to my house, water's down so low. I was catching fish in 1.5 feet of water yesterday.
There you go.
It was horrible, but that's another story having to do with spillways being broken. So, yeah. I'm sorry.
A lot of natural lakes around here. I mean, probably the biggest one closest to me is called Stonewall Jackson, and it doesn't. It's just it's like a wide river with some fingers that come off of it. A lot of standing timber, but like I said, I mean, deep. You got to be comfortable fishing 20 feet deep, and most of it.
So they're pelagic waters.
What's that?
Pelagic waters, the real deep.
Yeah. In parts. I mean, when I say deep, I'm a shallow fisherman by heart. I mean, most people I think are. Maybe some aren't, but it tends to be the easier way you can see the cover because a lot of it's above water and things of that nature, right? Doesn't take electronics to find what you're looking for. So it's an intimidating place for me. I've been there a number of times.
Me too.
The kayak, and it's like, man, I just want to beat the bank and try to find a laydown that I can pitch a jig into and pull out.
Yeah, I'm looking for log jams and stuff on the river, and I'm fishing those hard. And that Fox River's shallow; it's 6 to 9 feet at the deepest. Real deep lakes and bodies of water kind of not intimidate me as in I'm afraid of. I just don't know how to fish them, so that's something that I
need to get
try
better.
to get that.
I really just need to get better.
Yeah, but I'm the same way. We'll figure it out. No question about that at all. So you'd mentioned your kayak. Tell me a little bit about your kayaking experience. What do you like out of it? How do you like going about it? Maybe what you got going on with it, the modifications and stuff. I know we got some kayak fishermen out in the chat room.
Really? Okay. Oh, boy, you're going to...
Or a canoe guy. I know Rob is a big canoe guy. So...
Okay. As much as I geek out about lure making, I'm a gearhead, like... bad, right? You can see right behind me. That's the rack of fishing rods right behind me. So I'm a gear junkie. So when it came to the kayak, I think I mentioned this to you before. If you're not standing, you're not bass fishing, right?
You had mentioned that.
I really wanted a kayak that I could stand up in with confidence. So I'm not standing up in it the whole time, wondering if I'm going to fall out, and I can't focus on what I'm trying to do. Right? I want to be able to focus on getting the pitch just right. So I've got a big fish, a Three Waters Big Fish 105, which is 10.5 feet. That's the 105. Relatively new. Big Fish, I think, came out, I want to say 3 years ago, 4 years ago, maybe more than that. But they're made out of Feel Free. That's another popular maker. So it's a heavy, it's a barge. Okay. There's no internal storage. All the storage is on top. It's got a seat that will come completely out, fold all the way back and stand up. And you can just about walk around on the deck. Okay. Nice. Which is perfect for a bass fisherman. But it's heavy. And it tracks like crap.
Yeah.
Unless you get really, really bad unless you get the add-on rudder, which of course is like another $200.
Of course. But, and once you get into the add-ons, what do they say? What happens once you get into those add-ons?
Nothing.
All right, nothing. Is your wife watching or something?
So the rudder, right, is sweet because you can steer it with your feet. So now you can paddle, let yourself drift, steer with your feet, and hands-free fish. But,
Can you do that standing up, though? That's the question.
I have.
You have?
I've well, you just flip the paddle so you're holding the top of the paddle.
Okay.
And put it down in. Of course, I'm fishing shallow. I'm not going to do that with feet. But, I just kind of push it on and then put it back down and keep going. But so there's a website. There's a guy. I became a member in a Three Waters Facebook group to see what other guys are doing on their kayaks. And I came across this guy. I don't know where he's from. Maybe one of you guys know that has a kayak, but it's Yak Gadgets. YakGadgets.com. Okay.
All right.
He makes this thick, hard black plastic custom inserts or attachments for all these different kinds of kayaks, including specifically the Big Fish 105 and the Big Fish 120. That's the 12-foot version. The kayak has right in the middle between your feet, right? You got the pedals. Right between your feet is a pod, a removable pod, a lot like there's another popular brand that Chad.
I think Bonafide, and even Hobie's, that pod is removable in the middle. And so there's a lot of them. I think even the Ascends that they sell over at Cabela's and Bass Pro have that now too.
I think they caught on to it. That pod,
even Jackson's doing it too now too, right?
I bet so.
Yeah.
It's almost a security benefit. So it's designed for either storage or mainly designed, at least I think, for electronics. You can put the battery down inside, mount your transducer on the bottom, and then you got your electronics on the top. And when you go in to get a burger after you've been fishing, you just pop the whole pod out, put it in the truck, right? So you're not leaving it out there, among other things. But so there's this pod, there's this hole between your feet that you can use for electronics or whatever. And this guy said, why not make an insert that will take a trolling motor, and now you've got a trolling motor right in front of you that you can just turn on and off, right? Put the battery up in front of it. And now, which of course I naturally did, but now you can turn the trolling motor on, steer with your feet, and I can go right down the bank just like I'm in a little bass boat. And
perfect.
Just whoop, whoop, throw my spinner baits. And
I think my biggest advantage of something like that would be not having to have somebody pick me up at the end of a float on a river or something here. That would be kind of cool.
Oh yeah.
Little side note. I snowplowed for a long time, and one of the lots I did was Torquedo headquarters right here by my house. So too bad I wasn't doing this then. I might be able to talk them into a sponsorship, which I hear is pretty hard to do. So that's some high dollar stuff. Very cool. So did you get the trolling motor for your kayak?
Oh yeah.
You
I got the trolling motor on the front, and then Yak Gadgets also sell an under seat low profile drawer, so you got lots of good storage that you can pull out. So I got one of those. And then the coup de grace, right? So Power Pole sells a shallow water anchor that goes on the back, right? And the fancy one, I mean, it's like $2,000 or whatever. They got the little lanyard that goes down, right? Most of my water is shallow. So this guy created an adjustable bracket that spans the whole back of this kayak. And it's got multiple spots, multiple holes, right? You attach it to the gear racks or the gear tracks in the back, right? And then he sells the shallow water anchor poles that will drop down through there. And I got two anchor wizards, the guys that just the little low profile ring, right? I got one on my right hand that drops an anchor in the front, just like a 4-pound ball, something like that, drops it down the front. If I let it go on the left, it drops that
the shallow water anchor
in the back.
Yeah.
So it's manual. I'm doing this, but I mean, it was like $150, and so it's
a lot cheaper than a power pole. Yeah, that's pretty cheap. I was like I said, I was on a river yesterday, and I was thinking, man, because we had 20-mile-an-hour winds that were blowing up current. I was thinking, man, I could use some power poles on this darn boat.
Oh yeah,
yesterday would have been nice. But another side note, I believe the guy who created those anchor wizards, I think he was like 17 when he started the company.
Really?
Yeah, a real young guy. He started selling them like for $100. He made Pretty big name for himself, yeah.
Pop it, and then
comes down. Pretty cool. Yeah. I think he just modified a clothesline rack like everybody was doing for the longest time. Put a handle on it and put a one-way thing. So, right? Yeah, exactly. That's the cool thing. I mean, kayaking, I haven't been doing it in a while. It's been, I don't know, at least 3 years, but I know the industry grows so fast. I really like the DIY stuff that was going on with that. And I can kind of tell that you probably would too. There were so many cool ideas and stuff, and people have pretty much done everything. It got to the point where I was trying to think of something original, and I'd look up and somebody's already done it.
I don't know who he was. There was an older gentleman. He always went out on big water, like ocean. And he was the DIY kayak guy. I mean, he's on YouTube too. I just can't remember. Some of his stuff was a little too. He was reaching in some of it, but a lot of it was like, dang.
Is he the one that put the jet engine on his kayak?
Oh, I didn't see that.
Down in Florida. I'll have to send you a link to that one. This was just a guy actually put like a model RC jet engine on his kayak.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty wicked when he starts that thing up. But I forget what the name of that channel is. I'll get you the link. It's good stuff. But yeah, so what's a day of fishing look like for you these days? Now that you've been married for a while and you have a kid, how do you get your family involved? How do you need to put a lot of effort in getting them involved, or are they naturals when it comes to it? Or
a day of fishing as a married man with 2 kids, 14 and
2 kids. Oh, wow. God bless. You had mentioned that.
Yeah, 14-week-old puppies, and they're currently more of a handful than anything else. But if I was to sum up my fishing experience today, I would say short. I get out for maybe an hour, hour and a half if I'm lucky, and then heading back to help out in some way, do something. But Gwen is my 14-year-old. She fished with me for a while, but it wasn't her jam, and she's into boy bands and fun things like that. So we connect in other ways. Wendy, my wife, will go out with me. Matter of fact, she walked around my favorite honey hole while I was pitching a jig at dock posts, hoping that they had moved up into the shallows a little closer for spawn, right, as it warms up. And in between the docks, I'd throw a custom-made, actually, I made it on the channel. It was a color shift crappie. I call it a bladed frenzy, but it's a double rattled bladed jig. So that was my between dock as I was moving down. And she just walked with me, and we talked and hung out. Reed is my 10-year-old, and he goes off and on. So he was all about it. His PB is 5.2 pounds, right? 5 pounds. So it's nothing to sniff at, right?
Right.
But
that's how cat fishermen are born, right? What happens is you get your big PB from bass, and it's hard to beat them, and then you hook into like a 20-pound catfish, and it's over. I know so many people. So be warned. Be warned. He might turn.
Well, he's already there, right?
He might. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to get him to. Of course, it takes some patience, to be a bass fisherman, and even crappie fishing. If you got, it's not like you're throwing a worm out on a bobber for a bluegill and getting them on every hit, right? So he told me that, Dad, I want to go catfishing. I was like, dude, wouldn't you be bored with that? I mean, you're already bored with this. You're just going to sit there, throw out half a hot dog or something and wait for him to come by. But you see, the thing is, he can do that. He can leave Dad behind to watch the poles. Right? And then he can go over and play in the playground while the fish are thinking about it. So,
reel in a couple of his fish for him. That'll change him. And if one of them get pretty big, so once you start seeing you catching those big bass or those monster slab crappies, he'll learn, and he'll come back to you. That's what usually happens. I remember I watched a video on your channel just recently of you guys having a kind of your own 1-versus-1, right? Some crappie fishing. Tell us a little bit about that video without.
Yeah, there's a playlist. I think it's called The Fishing Adventures of Daddy and Reed or something.
That's so cool. I like that.
And, so we've gone out, bass fishing together. He loves it when I catch a big one because then he can hold it, and he likes to open its mouth and put it up right up with the GoPro, so just big mouth, you know. But so what we did, I've every member of the family has been on the channel at some point, right? And they've all taken their turn at the vise. So I've taught them, without them ever doing it before, let's sit down and tie a jig together. So they've all tied some sort of little crappie jig or something. So when Reed did his, affectionately named the Colorful Fart, that was it.
Yes, it was. I wasn't going to say that, but you can.
There you go. The Colorful Fart. Mine was like Black Lightning or whatever. So because I was tying up one beside him, and he was tying up one, and then I said, "All right, buddy, we're going to take these out, and it's going to be 1 versus 1 on the first inaugural Crappie Cup. We're going to go out and do the Crappie Cup, and we're going to set the rules down and see who takes the day, right?" So that was a lot of fun. He was somewhat put out because at the first dock, when we just got started. My wife was the one doing the filming. We just get started. He's over thinking he's got the perfect spot. I toss it out, catch not a crappie but a bass. So I'm reeling it, and I'm pouring salt in the wound. Oh, here we go, right? So I'm trying to get this bass off. I put the pole down. Unbeknownst to me, my crappie jig falls between the slats, right? So I'm trying to get this bass taken care of because I gotten the lure out, but he was bleeding a little bit on the one side, or I was trying to talk to the camera or do something. And as I looked down, the pole moved on its own with the bass in my hand, right? So I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I reached down, I got another bass underneath of the pole, underneath of the dock without even trying, right? So now
Could you get to the
two on it? I was like, you're done, man. I got this. You're done.
Didn't even have to try, poor kid.
Didn't even have to try. They like my Black Lightning so much.
Hey, real quick, we had some people come into the chat since we started, so let me say hello to them real quick. And also a quick side note, Kevin Baker from Nuts and Bolt Fishing mentioned that the name of the channel is Marty Zoffinger, I believe how you say that. Zoffinger. He does kayak rentals down in the
kayak DIY stuff. Okay.
Yep, I think that's the one. So I see Uncle Lou came in here. 2 Stands Fishing. If I missed you, Chad's in here. Mexicat Fishing. Let's see. I see Lyle in there. Hello, Lyle. Mr. Chavez is in here again. Mexicat. Some of the 1 Ton Fishing Club are here. What's going on? Art. Gabby's dad. If I didn't say hello, and Philip Williams. We got a lot of good people in here. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody. If I did, just yell out at Lyle, and he'll put you up on screen, and I'll make sure to say hello. Oh, and Lee Evans, Catfish Kentucky Outdoors. What's going on, Lee? Very cool. Creole Catfishing again is in here. So cool. So what kind of stuff you got coming up on your channel? What can we expect?
Yeah, exciting times on the channel. So I've been at it. I've had the channel for almost a year. My first video, which was oddly enough that same black or that same brown copper flash hybrid Z, was in late April, I think. So I'm coming up on a year. I try my best to do at least 2 videos a week. There's a number of months there where I was doing 3 videos a week. That was a ton, but I do 2 videos a week. So there's over 115, 120 or so videos out there. And I was exhausted. So
that's a big commitment.
Yeah. About 2 weeks ago, I took a break, and I let everybody know, hey, I'm going to take a week off. Right. But at the same time, I'd love to hear, I had some thoughts about the future of the channel, and what do you guys think? Well, I got tons of good feedback. I mean, tons. So where we're going, of course, we'll stick with bass jigs and crappie jigs. We'll still do tips and tricks in the shop. We'll do some special stuff like the test tank, paraphernalia, things of that nature. But the newest thing, and full disclosure, I stink at it, and I'm desperate to get better, okay? The first couple of jigs I ever tied were pretty terrible too. Okay, so there's hope for me that I'm going to get better. But the newest thing is soft plastics.
Ah,
yeah. So I have a soft plastic station. I've got the microwave and the Pyrex cups and the glitter and the colorant and the thermo pen or whatever, all of that, and a bunch of molds.
When I think soft plastics, I'm not a big bass guy. I think paddle tails.
Oh yeah.
If you can't catch it on a swim bait of some sorts, it's probably not alive. So
Yep.
I know. Oh, fin and fine. Oh, I just saw something pop up. I'll pop somebody up on accident. Do we ever try crappie magnets? I've used them. They work.
I know a trout magnet.
It's the same thing. Well, they're the same company, but they do make your typical crappie jigs, if I'm not mistaken. You know, that little swim body, the shad stuff, and they're pushed with by the Duck Commander crew, so they have a lot of celebrity power backing them, and those trout magnets. I know of a gentleman who uses them on a fly rod, and he gets so much flack from the trout community. Oh my God. You think like bass guys are bad, cat fishermen are worse, but the worst are the guys who play with fly fishing. Those guys are horrible.
Hard not to be a little pretentious in that.
It is, but you know what? I really do love I'm trying so hard at them not to get into that whole world. There's something about all the literature that's attached to it, something about obviously the heritage and the art form of all of it. Mm-hmm. But then it just gets awfully pretentious for me. So I don't know. I got to figure my place in all of that. So
it's tough. I tried fly fishing for a while, and the whole time I was out there, I was like, I could be bass fishing. What am I doing? And I sold it all.
Yeah.
I wasn't even flying. I wasn't even tying flies at that point. It was just, I'm intrigued by what they can do with these tiny little 14 size 14 hooks, and the lure craft end of it is intriguing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
have you ever seen I think his name is Sven Diesel.
Oh yeah.
That guy, he does some stuff that really, I want to say he encourages me, but boy, is it intimidating to see some of the stuff these people tie out.
Beautiful. I've seen some of his work. He does an awesome crawl.
Yeah.
He stacks hackle on top of each other and then bends it back and just layers it. Oh my gosh. I really enjoy watching him use that UV cement to make all those small little I forget what he calls them, the ice fishing type jigs. At least that's what I would use them for. The little ones where he puts the beads and he fills the beads in with all the UV cement. That stuff really looks cool. They look like little colored maggots, so I don't know. Mark, be the bull in that china shop and go for it. That's my buddy Rob down in Missouri. He knows me too well. Rob's a big-time canoe fisherman. He fishes a lot of small creeks, and he fishes for a lot of bass. So I'm sure he'll be checking out your channel, so be looking for comments from Mo Creek Fishing. He's a really good guy. So we got off on a tangent here. No, it's okay. I need to get some crappie soft plastics, right? I mean, I think that would be cool. I have one that I think might work. Well, I got two here. I pulled them out just because I thought these would probably cross over. So this is a Fat Guys Fishing common mold. Hey,
you had me at Fat Guys Fishing.
Yeah, there you go. Right? See you need, right? This is about a 3-inch.
That'll work.
3-inch. I call it a Ned kicker. So it's got these tails here have flanges on them, right? Whoop, there we go. Have flanges on them, so they kick in the water, and it's a thin body, perfect for a Ned rig in my world, and in bass fishing world, perfect for a Ned rig. But I'm thinking, put this on a crappie jig.
I've been one to bite half a
jig
off in my teeth and use it. I think that would work good. I think
so too.
The more tail you got. And if you can get a long enough hook on a jig head for that, you'd be good.
There you go.
Lyle says he's going to give away a couple of decals at the end of the show, so we'll make sure that we do that. So, Lyle, if you're sitting there watching, you could always do the picking and just announce it on screen, and I'll be happy to read that off to everybody. I think that would be the best way to do it. So,
So I pulled this one out because it's a legitimate question. I bought it for primarily my own use and for the use of the channel. Finesse swim jigs would be perfect for this. So it's an Angling AI, right? One of the better mold makers. It's an Angling AI Lil Hammer, Lil Hammer.
Okay, I like that name a lot.
Yeah, Lil Hammer. You can see
perfect. That's what I'm talking about.
Little paddle tail, 2.75 inches. So
nice.
I think, put that on I don't know, 360.
Put that on an 1/8 ounce jig head. You're going to get, you can pretty much catch anything that's in there. I'm thinking something like that would be perfect for walleye. You got any natural shad colors or shad colors, purples or high fluorescent green, a little brighter than chartreuse. I think you'd be.
Crappie hit that, right?
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
Big for a crappie.
It depends where you're fishing. If you're fishing in Grenada, you got no problem with that. Or down in southern Illinois, there's some big crappies down there. Yeah. So big ones, very big ones.
Little taste, right? Those are two that I'll be using. I've got other stuff from crawl molds to creature baits to worms to all kinds of stuff. So. Going forward on the channel, I'm hoping to do one soft plastic a week and something at the vise every week.
Very cool. Looks like we have our first winner. It's Two Stands Fishing. We also had a question from Eric Massey. He says, any hesitation with starting the soft plastic side? He was thinking about it himself. Those molds can't be cheap, right?
I was going to say. Classify hesitation, right? It's a rabbit hole. So I thought, it doesn't everybody, right? I thought, okay, I'm just going to get a couple, I'm just going to get a few to do a couple of things, pair up with some stuff that I'm making for the business or whatever. Long before I was a jig guy, I was a soft plastic junkie, and I should have known better, right? You do have to have the space. So ventilation is key. Got to make sure that you're well ventilated because you're dealing with plastisol. But boy, oh boy, you can spend a lot of money just like that because it's addictive. Jig fishing, jig tying, lure craft is addictive, but there's just something about shooting plastic into a mold that you have this idea and then pulling out 5 baits. There's just something really satisfying about that.
Even if it's just the colors, because I think about all the different colors that I'd like to try, and I'm like, well, maybe I should get a crappie jig mold, and I know where that leads.
It opens Pandora's box, and before you know it, you've got 1,000 reasons why you need this one, and 1,000 reasons why you need that.
I'm going to make a confession. I got to see if my wife's listening. I don't think she is. We just replaced our microwave, and I kind of took the old one and hid it in the garage just in case I go to pick it up. So
there you go.
We'll see what happens. You might inspire me to move forward with it. So I'll let you know.
I just don't know if it's possible to do it truly in moderation. Maybe you can. Maybe you guys got more self-control than I do.
Well, you get all the equipment, and you're like, where one can eat, 4 can eat is another saying that was taught in my family. So if you can make one set of plastics, you might as well be able to make 4 sets of different plastics, right?
Yeah. And these molds, if you take care of them, these are CNC aluminum molds, right? I'm not getting stone molds or the silicone stuff is okay too.
Let me stop you right there. He said CNC molds. Now that one that you modified in one of your, I think it's second to latest video. Tell everybody what you actually did to one of those molds.
So that's a lead mold, obviously.
It is lead. Okay.
Yeah, that's a lead mold, not a soft plastic mold. So, so for Christmas,
but they're no cheaper than the plant. Well, they can't be.
No, they're way cheaper.
Oh, they are. Okay.
Yeah. That was what I did for everybody was I took a poison tail swim jig mold that pours 1/2 ounce, 3/4 ounce, and 1 ounce swim jig heads. Takes anywhere from a 3/0 to a 5/0 jig hook in that to make a swim jig. Right. It's got a really cool modeled head. It's got a wider, more round head. It's not really the typical. Usually, a swim jig head is real thin because you want it to zip through grass and things of that nature. But this one, it's got a little bit more realistic, modeled head, recessed eyes. I just really like the look of the head. Mm-hmm. I got it to both do swim jigs with, but also to modify it to be able to pour spinnerbaits out of it. So I basically bought the spinnerbait hooks and the wires, placed it down inside the mold where I knew I wanted the wire to go because it's not made for that wire. Smacked it with a hammer.
Hammer, right? I saw that.
Smacked it with a hammer. As long as it was flat, it's not gonna distort it or anything. And what that does is it made a little imprint of the wire form on the inside of the casting or whatever, just enough to see, and then took a little file and filed out a channel for the wire to go up, out, and then come back through, so it closes all the way, and I can pour lead in it and it doesn't flash all over the place and so forth. So I can do I can do 1/2 ounce and I can do 3/4 ounce. Now this is a preview. The channel hasn't seen this yet.
Oh, look at this!
The fact that it hasn't been unleashed. These are going to be unleashed on the SD.
Let me congratulate Justin's Fishing Fetish for being the second winner. But go ahead. I apologize for that.
No problem at all. So let me see if I can get this right. So that's the that's the head. Right?
That's pretty nice.
Right, 2-tone pearl on the bottom with gray on top. I'm calling these stick with the Z theme. Right, these are called my spinner Z's. So it's a 1/2 ounce spinnerbait.
Well, show that again up close. I just want the people to see like the quality work that you're doing. I mean, you see quality work like that only in some high dollar stuff, and not everybody that's doing them at home can get those kind of results. So, I mean, you got some people out here in chat that do really good hand ties and all sorts of stuff that are definitely great at what they're doing, and you're no exception to that group of people. So that looks really cool.
Yeah, it's my shad imitation with a color shift blue on top, and then the trailer is permanently tied in rabbit zonkers in a chinchilla pattern. It's got gray. There's a rattle between the zonkers, which acts as both a rattle for when it's shaking, but there's also that bulb right there pushes the zonkers out a bit so that they move. Otherwise, they just be flat together. So they do this in the water. And then the coup de grace is the body is wrapped in polar chenille.
Cool.
UV polar chenille. So you got a lot of flash. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about.
Is it a ball bearing spinner, Rob wants to know?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. He recognized that right away.
We don't chintz on the spinners, right? If you're going to chintz anywhere else, don't chintz on the spinner or on the swivel. Yeah, you got to have a ball bearing spinner.
Jason says those look really good, too.
Thanks, man.
Another guy. So
that's some of the new stuff, right? Excited to share those on the channel. So this week, I'm showing it's a soup to nuts in 3 videos. It's a 3-part series. So part 1, mod the mold. How do you do that? And go all the way through curing the head, paint it, shape it, cure it, right? Pour the lead. Part 2, drop today, where we take our finished head and put it on the vise and tie the skirt, which you're dealing with a wire form, right? Trying to get around a wire form on a vise, not that simple.
Nope.
And then put the blades on and all of that stuff. And then part 3, if I can get my soft plastic act together, is shoot a custom soft plastic 4-inch swim bait that's going to pair with
that.
Right. We did a scrape grass pattern. Not like that. This is coming, but the video today was just a standard silicone skirt. So that's hopefully going to drop Saturday.
Jason Lamb wanted to know: do you put a trailer hook on that spinner that you had? Good. And also, Lyle's been highlighting everybody, giving you mega kudos on the channel. Eric Massey and a couple other people. So they're all saying it's really nice work. They're just as impressed as I was. Just so you know.
Yeah, thanks.
Back to the trailer hook. Do you use trailer hooks on those?
They don't come standard. You can put it on there. You'll probably limit it's a finesse type of spinnerbait. even though it's got a rattle, the rattle is between the two zonkers, so it's not going to be super loud. And unlike a boot tail swim bait that's really going to be moving in the back, those rabbit zonkers, I mean, they just kind of
hold
quiver,
it, tighten it up, yeah.
Right. So depending on what kind of trailer hook you have and how you put it on, right? So if you slide, there's different kinds, but if you slide the tubing over the hook and then put the whole thing on, you can actually get it to sit about middle of the hook so it wouldn't interfere with the zonkers as much, right? Mm-hmm. But if it starts dropping down, it might impede the action a little bit. So
that makes a lot of sense, even to a cat fisherman, crappie fisherman like myself. So
yeah.
So are there any other fish besides bass that you haven't fished? Well, I mean, are there any fish besides bass, or are there any fish you haven't fished for that you'd like to try and chase?
Muskie.
Okay.
I'd like to try my hand at making a
muskie baits, man. That's where the money is right there. I'm not even gonna lie. Them guys are pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I've already looked at it. Right, you can buy I think it's 0.51 or 0.6 wire, and you spend about $60 on a wire bending apparatus.
Mm-hmm.
Giant beads, huge treble hooks. And then they have these pre-made bucktail that you slide on. I'm like, well, that's the part that I would want to make. I mean, make right. It all, right? But you can tie that up. So I don't make buzz baits. I saw that comment.
SK's got a great channel. He's a big crappie fisherman, and he's a hand tire like you wouldn't believe.
Oh, yeah?
He does some pretty nice waffle patterns and stuff on his, and they look really good. I need to order some of the chenille that he uses because I need to try my hand at making it look a bad version of what he does. That's what I'm hoping for. So, okay, so back to...
You could actually... So I saw that guy Skimpy. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him. He and Small Jaw were the two guys that I watched, the two channels that I watched. That I thought, okay, I can try this, right? Small Jaw's got the natural material side really down. That guy Skimpy was just a run-of-the-mill guy that's pouring his own lead, making swim jigs with rubber band skirts. You know what I mean? But I was like, they look good. He's a cool guy. He did a video not too long ago using the same mold that I just modified, but putting a buzzbait wire form in it. It's going to be jacked up because the buzzbait head comes, the wire comes straight out of a buzzbait and comes up and around, right? As opposed to a spinnerbait that kind of comes at an angle and goes like that. So all he did was he took the head and the angle that was coming and he just bent it so that it became something straight, and he had a buzzbait out. It didn't look all that great, but hey.
Did he catch fish on it? It worked, then there you go.
Yeah, it worked. So
Addicted to Hunt says, I love to watch some SDG. Great guest tonight, Mark. Adam makes some great videos. I agree. I really like his stuff as well.
Appreciate
Hats off to Small Jaw from there.
There you go.
There we go.
There he knows it.
We're at 9 o'clock, Adam. Let me tell you, it's been a really, really, really pleasure talking to you. I get the privilege of meeting so many good people by helping at this one and on my own channel that I truly feel just as blessed here as I do when I'm out on the water. So
cool.
Thank you very much. Is there anything you want to plug to anybody while you're here? Let's get you some subs. Hey, everybody out there, do me a favor. If somebody can post the link to his channel, please sub to Adam's channel. This is how we get really good guests on this show, and we've had nothing but good guests. So the more we support them, the more we're going to be able to get people on. So if someone could post it, that would be great. I appreciate it. And sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to make sure I got that.
No, I appreciate it. So maybe a little unorthodox, but here's my plug if I have one. At the end of every video, at the end of every one of my videos, I utilize the end card. You would know what that is. Others would. Probably Eric does. And I encourage folks, if you want to see more, check out this video right here. If you're curious why I call the channel what I call it, then click on this video right here, right? And that other video, if you click on it, I started out, it's me at my parents' pond. It's literally a puddle, right? But it's me at my parents' pond explaining this is by far the most important video on this channel. And I walk through what SDG means, what the
Very
gospel is, what it means to me. So if I'm going to plug anything, I'm going to say head to the channel.
Watch a video and then head to that one.
You can either head to the very first video that I ever put on there, which is that one, or you can just watch another video and wait to the end and then click on the link and go check that one out. So
very cool.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me on. This has been a lot of fun.
You're very welcome. Don't go anywhere yet. I want to thank everybody for watching. Eric Burnside, what's going on, Eric? JP3 I saw watched in, came in a little late. I want to make sure I don't miss anybody. Philip Williams, I think I said hello. SK, obviously, what's up, SK? Hey, SK, if you need help with your live feeds, you know, man, I'm always willing to help you, my friend. I really appreciate you giving me all the big shouts out and the loves in your chat. So I do want to plug my own channel, Catfish and Crappie, this Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. We are having the 1-versus-1 rematch between Creole Catfishing's Jeremy Dufour and Ryan Bortz of Ryan Bortz Blue Collar Fishing. That ought to be fun. If you get a chance, stop in if you're out and around. Ryan's a kayak fisherman who drags catfish bait for like 8 hours at a time. Young man never stops. Holy smokes. And Creole's on the Mississippi River. He has a lot of big catfish at his disposal, and that man is a good time, and he can talk more than or better than I can. He's a good man to have as your friend down there. So everybody says let the good times roll when they talk to Jeremy. So again, thank you very much, Adam. I want to say good night to everybody, to you, and have a great day. Check out his channel. All right, guys, have a good night. Lyle, take us out.